It's a kind of magic.
6% van mijn rug was verbrand. Zowel eerste als diep tweede graads brandwonden. En het enige wat ik dan kon doen was ademhalingsoefeningen. En dat leek effect te hebben. Want na een week werd het verband verschoond. En toen zei de chirurg, nou dit heb ik echt nog nooit gezien. Dus toen waren de blaren al zo goed als weg. Er zat al helemaal een nieuw huid eronder. Ja, wat gebeurt met brandwonden? Dan trekt dat enorm naar elkaar toe. En er is helemaal niets van dat. Je ziet het nauwelijks meer. Ja tuurlijk, je ziet een nieuw wit huidje die nog nooit in de zon geweest is. Maar voor de rest echt helemaal niets.
My diagnosis was a 50-50 chance of permanent paralysis. And the recovery is 18 to 24 months. That's the best thing that can happen, and there's no cure. I had the 10-week course, and I've done everything exactly like that every day. And within 8 months total, I was completely symptom-free. At 64 years old, I swim 2 miles in the ocean 3 times a week. I can do the splits. I deadlift 300 pounds. I mean, this is just like not, I have no inflammation in my body, ridiculous amount of energy. I do sound a little bit evangelical about the Wim Hof method though, I gotta admit.
Vooral omdat de neuroloog al maanden daarvoor had gezegd van het vioolspelen moet je echt opgeven, dat komt nooit meer goed. Dit is kapot en daar zal je mee moeten leren leven. En nou, dat was dus niet zo.
Het is ook zo simpel en er is geen hocus pocus aan, het is allemaal wetenschappelijk onderbouwd. Het is zo moeilijk om te begrijpen waarom ik andere mensen niet over die drempel krijg, terwijl het voor iedereen zoveel baat zou kunnen hebben. Het is gewoon, het zou algemeen bekend moeten zijn, zouden het op school moeten leren.
I saw a chiropractor, a podotherapist, and none of them were able to help me with my injuries. When nobody can help you, you get into a black hole. This method helped me to get back on my feet and smile and feel that I'm alive again, and I am really fired up to let people try and show them that it's so easy.
As your own, as something you get to keep. It was amazing what came up. All I can say is I kind of cracked this barrier that I had up that I didn't even know was there, and I got behind it. I got behind the scenes in my psyche, and when I was there, I had free reign to really explore all these issues that I thought I dealt with or that I didn't even know were there.
And it's amazing just doing the breathing, and then the visions come along with very intense emotions, from laughing to crying, shaking, and just using the breathing to work through that has helped shift things. I know
There's just a lot more space in my head, in my heart, and in my just surrounding me. I feel much more in tune with everything. Things seem brighter.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Those first 10 sessions I had a lot of childhood memories, family stuff, adolescent issues. I got a lot of relief from some pain that I've been carrying around in those, and I saw a major decrease in my need for medication for my asthma.
Our bodies are the best machines we have. Emotions are the most powerful technology human beings have. The body knows what it needs to do to heal itself, and breath, I'm finding, is a route into that. Breath helps the body start to heal itself.
something not easy to explain. I was in a different state. I was on another planet. I was somewhere else. I was flying. It was a total bliss. I cried a lot. It was very good for me. It changed me. I was different. I was another man. I felt really, really well. I was a kind of angry person because of some issues I had in my life. The benefit is still going on now, but just after the session for 1-2 months, I was still in the effect. I was still flying over life, and people around me told me, "You're not the same." So it's very positive experience with no side effect. At the opposite, it fixed me. It cured me. Thank you.
I've seen an addiction broken in one breath session. I've seen couples come, older couples. I had a 65-year-old couple, and afterwards the wife came to me and she hugged me and she said, "That's the first time my husband has told me that he loves me in 25 years.
Loco.
This is how I looked in 1999. My oncologist told me that I would develop Burkitt's lymphoma and that nothing could be done, and that my blood profile suggested that I would die somewhere in the summer of 1999. As the great author Mark Twain said, the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. But one night in a restaurant she met Dr. Bob Vance, an internist from Las Vegas, who said to Janet, being obvious what was wrong with her, said, "Well, why don't you come over to our clinic? Lymphoma is a piece of cake." And she thought, yeah, a piece of cake with all I've been through with radiation, chemotherapy, et cetera, et cetera. But a few nights later, she was going in and out of consciousness as this tumor was choking her to death. And so she said, if I live through the night, in the morning I'm going to go see Bob Vance. And she did, and this Polaroid was taken. And 4 days later, she looked like this. Now this photo, as you can see, was taken 3 weeks later when they finished their therapy, but nevertheless, that was the process. Now, when Janet sent me these pictures, I was amazed, and so I dragged myself out of bed and went to see what they were doing, and that was my introduction to energetic medicine. Janet is still alive and well and doing just great.
It actually does feel a little better. I can my body. That's awesome.
I feel energy. I'm hypersensitive to energy fields, so I can feel when energy is blocked.
Did you feel it anywhere else on my right side?
I felt it on your arm.
Okay.
Going down.
Yeah, my right's fractured in 2 spots right now.
I was feeling that. Next okay now?
Yes.
For a second.
Feels good, actually. Almost feels later.
It's good.
That's trippy.
We are sleeping and the physical body is extremely relaxed. At this time, the physical body does not need a great amount of qi to support its activities, and the qi circulates abundantly in the spinal cord to nourish the brain, sexual organs, and all of the glands located along the center line of the body. Hormone production from pineal, pituitary, and adrenal glands, and the testicles or ovaries is therefore increased at night. When the brain is nourished and its function is raised up to a high level, your spirit can be raised, which is vital for health, longevity, and the pursuit of enlightenment.
It means that when you have water next to a hydrophilic material, you always have EZ water. And of course, if you add more light, then the EZ grows, you see. So light is basically feeding the growth. So this feature, this light-induced separation of charge, can also be used to get electrical energy from light and water. All you need to do, at least in theory, is stick 2 electrodes in, one in the negative, one in the positive, and you ought to be able to get electricity to light a light bulb. We've demonstrated that this is actually the case. You can see here, you flip the switch, and you get the light. So just as water behaves as a light-driven battery, cells actually operate much the same way, also as a light-driven battery, something you perhaps never thought of.
Please watch this video. Well, we find that a rope of water leaps up and forms between the 2 glasses. And here we go. Waiting, some sparks, and voila, you see the water leap up. So now if we look at this bridge, a couple of things begin to happen, right? We see that when we stretch the bridge, it gets thinner. When we shorten it, it gets thicker. We can see it oscillate. It can vibrate like a guitar string. I'll even show you, hopefully it won't break, but I can pass this glass rod right through the bridge, so pure magic.
It's a kind of magic.
When we do chemical analysis, we find that the pH in the two glasses is different. So the acidity of the water changes.
It's a kind of magic.
Dana! No! Atokirina! Atokirina.
What are they?
Seeds of the sacred tree. Very pure spirits.
Uh-huh. What was that all about?
Come. Come.
It's a kind of magic.
Each of you have in your bodies approximately A 1 with 26 zeros behind it. That's 100 trillion water molecules. So to put that into perspective, if I take a stick about 1 meter long and place it end to end to end, and I do that with that number, 100 trillion meter sticks, I will reach from one side of the universe to the other. That's how much water is in your bodies. Each and every one of us is incredibly wealthy.
Chlorine dioxide is no miracle, it's just wonderful chemistry. This is the piece de resistance, and what I really like about this one is it all kind of comes to why this works, because I think for a couple of years we were just all thrilled that it worked, and now of course, as Sue Ellen was saying, it really has a lot to do with the chemistry. So chlorine dioxide takes up an electron and it reduces to chlorite. Chloride ion then gains 4 more electrons, it becomes chloride. During the process where CD becomes chloride, the chlorine portion of the atom does not take part in the reaction until stable chloride is formed. This is why no chlorinated substances are formed when chlorine dioxide is used as an oxidizing agent. What is chloride? Chloride, 87% of chlorine dioxide is finishing as chloride. It is chloride, not chlorine. Chloride is one of the most important electrolytes in the blood. It helps to keep the amount of fluid inside and outside of the cell in balance. It also helps maintain proper blood volume, blood pressure, and pH of our body fluids. Oxidation strength versus oxidation capacity. Of our oxidative treatments, there's ozone, which is a 2.07, which is very strong. Hydrogen peroxide, 1.78, still very strong. The body is about 1.28 to 1.30, so we want to always be underneath that so we don't do any harm. And chlorine dioxide fits that perfectly at 0.95. And as you can see, it's still strong enough to kill the pathogens, yet it doesn't damage the body. And that is probably the most important reason why, as a pro-oxidant, this is the key. Chlorine dioxide is a selective killer, meaning killing through oxidation. Chlorine dioxide is a selective killer, as where hydrogen peroxide and ozone are not. Chlorine dioxide reactivity depends on the pH. Chlorine dioxide reacts differently in the presence of acid and alkaline. CD is more reactive the more acid the pathogen is, which is one of the reasons why when we see the detox in some of our kids early on, it can just be that there's a whole lot of pathogens, so there's going to be a lot more acidity, and of course we're going to have a lot more reaction. The more acidic the pathogen, the stronger the oxidation potential. Chlorine dioxide is no miracle, it's just wonderful chemistry. Is chlorine dioxide the same as sodium hypochlorite? Sodium hypochlorite is really a laundry bleach. Although they have similar names and elements, they are very dissimilar. The commonality of the name arises from the fact that they all contain the element chlorine, but their properties are quite different. Chlorine and hypochlorite are powerful oxidizing agents, but more importantly, their reaction with organic matter can lead to unacceptable concentration of chlorinated organic compounds via substitution reactions. Chlorine dioxide is non-mutagenic, non-carcinogenic, and is relatively non-irritating, unlike chlorine and hypochlorite.
Bleach is a powerful oxidant, so it can destroy things like bacteria and viruses. But if swallowed, is there any way the chemical could tell the difference between a bad, disease-causing virus or cancer cell and a healthy human body cell?
Can this product do that?
No.
I think that answers that question.
For Checkpoint, call Susan Strongman aho.
How can CD kill microbes while leaving human cells unharmed? Chlorine dioxide deactivates microorganisms by breaking the bacterial cell wall, or in the case of viruses, by loosening the viral envelope. This action occurs immediately upon exposure. Human tissue is not affected by it. This comes from Frontier Pharmaceuticals.
Please enjoy Dr. Tannen. Thanks, Jerry.
AGD disclaimer. As most of you might guess, the device that carries my name means I have some interest in it, and so there you have it. Okay, healing is voltage. I wanted to make particularly the new folks aware how I came to be talking about this subject. I am trained as an ophthalmologist, and I did a residency in ophthalmology at a combination of Harvard Medical School in Boston with Mass Eye and Ear and Southwestern Medical School and Parkland Hospital in Dallas between 1964 and 1968. So I'm board certified in ophthalmology. I'm also board certified by the American Society of Ophthalmic Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. And I was the director of the Ophthalmic Plastic Surgery Division at Parkland Hospital for a number of years, primarily putting faces and skulls back together from trauma. And a few years ago, I was honored to receive a call asking if I would accept an award from the Pope, which surprised me a great deal since I'm not Catholic, but I was honored to receive it as well. So I received the Order of St. Sylvester for my contributions to medicine. Thank you. I have an honorary PhD from a university in Spain, and I currently have a clinic in the Dallas area where I practice integrative medicine. And so that's how I got started doing this sort of thing. So one of the things that happened was that we didn't know at the time that the laser would not kill viruses. And so the laser would tap on the cornea of the eye, exploding cells and removing tissue, and it would release viruses, and those viruses would come up like a plume off of an atomic bomb, came up and went through my mask, through my nose and into my brain, and so I developed both encephalitis and a bleeding disorder. Now, some people get confused with my story because I would not have been able to get into that trouble had I not had low voltage in my brain to begin with and in my spleen to begin with. The only reason those viruses were able to have their way with me is because I had a root canal in number 14, which is in the spleen-stomach meridian, which had lowered my voltage in those areas of my body, allowing the virus to have their way with me. So what happened to me is that I got to where I could see a patient, know what was wrong with them, but I couldn't remember how to write a prescription. And so I would see a patient and I'd have to go sit in my office and maybe sit at my desk for 10 or 15 minutes trying to get enough energy in my brain to remember how to write the prescription or what I needed to do. In addition, I developed spastic movements, which doesn't work well if you're operating inside an eyeball. So for all of those reasons, I had to quit work at the end of November of 1995. And here's how I spent most of my time. Now, you may recall that I had viruses in my brain and viruses in my spleen. This is Tigger, this is Pooh. Tigger would always come and lay on my head. Pooh would always come curl up next to my spleen. So it was obvious that they knew where my problems were, and I consider them the original biomodulators. So I feel I owe my life to integrative medicine. I was told that I would develop Burkitt's lymphoma and that nothing could be done about the multiple viruses that they found in my system. And my blood profile kept getting worse and worse, and so it looked like the end for me might be the summer of 1999. But obviously that didn't happen since I'm still here. So I want to try to share with you the things that I learned, and I'm still learning about how the body works. The things that I've learned are totally different than the way I was trained in medical school. And so I make it every effort. It's my mission in life to go out and try to share with people the things that I learned that helped me so that others can be helped as well. Now, let's take a look at some of the things that happen as voltage drops. First of all, I mentioned to you that at any given level of atmospheric pressure, the amount of oxygen that will dissolve in water is dictated by the voltage of the water. So if I were to take this water and I put a tube in it and I start bubbling oxygen in here, the amount of oxygen that will dissolve in this water is dictated by the voltage of the water. If I raise the voltage, then more water goes into solution. If I lower the voltage, oxygen comes out of solution and disappears. So as our voltage drops, the oxygen in our cells drop because cells are 70% water or so. Well, the next thing that happens is the efficiency of metabolism drops. Now, inside our cells, we have a rechargeable battery system called ADP-ATP that is designed to provide the energy that's necessary for the metabolism inside the cell. Well, if we have a rechargeable, oh, by the way, when the battery is charged up, we call it ATP. When it's discharged, we call it ADP. So obviously, if we have a rechargeable battery system inside the cell, we should have a battery charger in there, right? And we do. It's called the Krebs cycle. Now, the Krebs cycle likes to work with fatty acids. So for every unit of fatty acid that you put into the Krebs cycle, if oxygen is available, you get enough electrons to charge up 36 to 38 of these ATP batteries. However, for every unit of fat you put in there and oxygen is unavailable, you only get enough electrons to charge up 2 of those batteries. So obviously your metabolism becomes very inefficient when oxygen is diminished. And what controls the oxygen level? Our old friend, voltage, right? So as voltage drops, oxygen drops. As oxygen drops, the efficiency of your metabolism drops. Now the other thing that happens is that each of us contain about 1 trillion bugs. Now, these bugs are suppressed and asleep as long as oxygen is available, but as soon as oxygen disappears, the bugs wake up. And when the bugs wake up, the first thing they want to do is have lunch, and they want to have you for lunch. Now, bugs don't have teeth, so they can't take a bite out of your cells, and so instead they put out digestive enzymes that begin to dissolve your cells so they can get the nutrients out. So the bugs are having a great old time, but how do you feel? Yeah, you're having cells damage, and so you feel terrible. Think about having strep throat. The strep bacteria are having a picnic on your tonsil. They're having a good old time, but you feel terrible. You got the world's worst sore throat.
those digestive enzymes get in your blood and go all over the place, so now you have a headache, you're vomiting, you have diarrhea, your muscles ache, and then those digestive enzymes go down and scar your heart valves and scar your knees. And so we have this process then of these bugs having our way with you. But the point that I want to make is that each one of these muscle battery packs goes through very specific teeth. And so, for example, the battery pack we've been discussing, the spleen stomach, are these ones in yellow. So you can see it's the upper molars and lower premolars. Now, the interesting thing about teeth is I've come to realize that teeth act like circuit breakers. If I come home from work and I open the fridge and it's hot in there and I go in the living room and the lamp won't turn on and I go in the bedroom and the TV won't turn on, I realize that I've got a circuit breaker blown, right? Well, so it is with teeth. When you have an infection in a tooth, then that infection acts like a circuit breaker in the sense that it begins first to lower the voltage in that circuit and then eventually shut that voltage off. Because teeth act like circuit breakers, they become the controlling factor in almost all chronic disease because they control the voltage. Voltage controls oxygen. Oxygen controls the ability of ATP to work. Oxygen controls whether we have infections in the body or not. And eventually, oxygen is the determination of whether we get a malignancy, as I'll show you. So once you began to realize that teeth are circuit breakers, then you began to recognize that the teeth are really the guardians of our entire health and are essentially always involved in almost every serious chronic disease. Now, of course, there's a variation in how much effect it has on a circuit. A filling, an infection under a filling will have some effect. A big infection under a crown has an even bigger effect. Worse than that, of course, is a root canal. Root canal teeth, as you know, are dead teeth. And as you know, dentists are the only physicians that believe that you can get away with leaving dead tissue in the body. No other doctor really believes that. And because all dead tissue gets infected. And of course, here's the famous Japanese study where they did a root canal on people who are going to have wisdom teeth pulled. They did it on just one side, and then 150 days later, they pulled both teeth, and as you can see, the side where nothing was done, 1% of the tubules were infected, and the side where the root canal was done 150 days earlier, 39% of the root canal teeth were infected. And so all dead tissue gets infected. So if your big toe dies and you leave it there, you will die of gangrene. If your appendix dies and you leave it there, you'll die from peritonitis. If you have a root canal, it will also kill you. It just takes longer. So all dead tissue always gets infected. And of course, the other problem that we have is cavitations, which in my experience affect the circuitry in a way quite similar to root canals. So let's talk about cancer. We found, and what we found is that 48 out of the 50 cases had a dental infection in the same acupuncture meridian as a primary cancer or a cavitation in the adjacent meridian. 96% of the cancer patients that I saw or that I continue to see have an infected tooth or a cavitation in the same acupuncture meridian or a cavitation in the adjacent meridian, 96%. So, for example, I walked in my exam room, I saw this patient that had this lesion on her cheek, and so I immediately knew that she had a root canal in the stomach meridian on that side. How did I know that? Well, as you can see, here's the battery pack for that area. And of course, her lesion's right there. And this is the stomach meridian. So I knew that there was a 96% likelihood that she had a root canal, and indeed she had one here in number 3. So that's what you begin to find anytime you start looking at this. So why doesn't everybody who has a root canal have a cancer?
Well, as Boyd Haley has shown us, as I mentioned, one root canal shuts down 63% of your immune system. So let's make an assumption for a moment that this reduces the voltage by 63% as well. So let's assume that you make $1,000 a month, but there's a $630 a month tax. So you have $370 a month to live on. Well, you can do that. It's hard, but you can do that. But then all of a sudden, you need new tires for your car. Your kid falls off the bike and breaks their arm, so you got a big doctor bill. The storm comes through and blows some shingles off your house. All of a sudden, that $370 is gone and you're upside down, right? I think that's what happens, is that people go along with a root canal or a cavitation for a while, and they're struggling, but they get by. And then all of a sudden, there are these extra electron stealers that come along, drop the voltage all the way to zero, which flips the polarity, and bingo, you've got a malignancy. Okay, so it's 10:30. Can I have 5 more minutes? Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to show you some case studies. So here's a 61-year-old with weight loss and hearing loss, macular degeneration, and that sort of problem. And what I do for patients is I simply make a list of whatever their symptoms are like that, and then I come behind it and say, what's the power supply for that symptom? Well, the thyroid gland's on the stomach meridian. The heart arrhythmia, people who have heart disease have, guess what? Wisdom teeth problems. So if you have somebody with angina or you have somebody with arrhythmia, it's almost always wisdom teeth plus nitric oxide deficiency. And so you go down the list of everything that's going on, and what you begin to see is there eventually begins to, you see a pattern over here of what circuits are involved, and then we measure the voltages and their circuits, and in this particular methodology of measuring, you take the number this machine gets and divide it in half to get millivolts. So although this patient's running at approximately 27.5 millivolts on the average, if you look at the other circuits that are going on, for example, this one is at 16 and 12, so they're running at about half voltage in their spleen circuit, which corresponds to the symptomatology they have. And of course, when you do this test, what you find is that their wisdom teeth are out and have taken the spleen stomach circuit out. So the way that you fix that patient's problem is, again, you send them to a biological dentist who does their cavitation surgery, and then they're well. Again, the O-ring test shows it best. And then here's another example, an 18-year-old who has Crohn's disease with all sorts of GI stuff, and has been unable to go to school. And of course, when you start making the list over here, you begin to see the commonalities. You begin to see it. So again, guess what it takes to get this 18-year-old back to normal? What's the power supply for, or what's the tooth that controls small intestine? Wisdom teeth. And what controls the heart? Wisdom teeth. So it very quickly, and then you've got all of these adrenal symptoms, so you very quickly begin to see that this person is sick and has Crohn's disease because of their wisdom teeth extractions. Who would have guessed? Well, look, here are the wisdom teeth circuits: heart, small intestine, autonomic. Here's the lower molar, here's lower molar, and here's another thing that I'll mention in a moment. But just right here, seeing that look how low the voltage is in the sympathetic system, 2.2 millivolts on the right, and just a little over 1 millivolt on the left. And it should be what? 25. So obviously this person's in trouble. Now there's one other thing that this tells you, and that is when you see that there's low voltage in the gallbladder circuit and higher voltage than normal in the liver circuit, that's almost always emotional baggage, because emotions tend to get stuck as magnetic fields in the gallbladder circuit, because the gallbladder circuit is the power supply to the amygdala, and the amygdala is controls all sensory input. So here's what bone looks like. And obviously there are a lot of places in here for bugs to hide, so no matter how much you wash it out, it still has a tendency to get infected. And so, of course, what's becoming standard is to fill a syringe with ozone gas. Since ozone will kill any bug, put that little tip down and blow ozone into that bone and sterilize it. Once you've done that, you come behind it, of course, and draw the blood out of the arm, spin it down the centrifuge to make fibrin form, because as you know, fibrin contains all of the healing factors that will make bone heal, and then you cut a chunk of that off and stuff it down in the tooth, and they heal like magic. So many times when you pull teeth, particularly wisdom teeth, you get dry sockets, which by definition means you're going to have a cavitation there. But when you use ozone and platelet-rich fibrin, it is very, very rare to have an infection. And most of the time when my patients have this done, I find the majority of them don't even use pain pills. The ozone and platelet-rich fibrin causes the healing to be so much better that about the only annoyance is the 10 days of scratchiness from these dissolvable stitches. What I have found, both personally and with my patients, is that when cavitations are fixed without ozone and platelet-rich fibrin, that they tend to return in about 2 or 3 years, and you have to do it all over again. But once you use ozone and platelet-rich fibrin, you almost never have a recurrence. For that reason, I only refer patients to dentists who use both ozone and platelet-rich fibrin. What I've been amazed about is that when people have this done, have this completed, that usually within a week, it's like you flipped a switch and they've got their life back. And it's just dramatic how much difference you can make in people's life. They go from their life in the toilet to being back to productive citizens again, marriages get back together, people resolve issues. And so you dentists are really at the forefront of being able to help people with this kind of problem.
And it became clear to me that these patients really did very well, after surgery, not just in terms of their psychological state and their mental attitude, but they had like very little pain. They recovered really fast, and it was not a big study that I did, but it became clear to me that that this was valuable and that I really embraced it. And I said, well, why wouldn't we want to offer this to patients? This is my sister, Fern, who unfortunately lost her life to breast cancer when she was 37. She was my older sister. October 11th was the day she died, and that was 34 years ago. It was a long time ago. I was still a resident at the time. She called me and said, I have a terrible backache. And unfortunately it was metastatic breast cancer, stage 4 to her bones. And she really pursued every aspect to treat her 3 little kids.
Hey guys, today I'm going to show you just how easy it is to heal the body using energy. Let's go. Where do you have pain on your body?
It's kind of my back, my shoulder, right up here. You feel some stuff moving around.
How's it feel?
Oh, actually does feel a little better. I can feel before there was some pain down here.
Movement of energy, I guess. There's something in my body. That's awesome. Thank you.
Good stuff. Tell me where you feel a tension. How do you feel? I feel energy. I'm hypersensitive to energy fields, so I can feel when energy is blocked.
Did you feel it anywhere else on my right side?
I felt it on your arm.
Okay.
Going down.
Yeah, my wrist is fractured in 2 spots right now.
I was feeling that. Neck's okay now?
Yeah.
Do you feel something?
I actually do, a little bit, in my wrist right now.
What does it feel like?
Almost like a pulse, but not a pulse. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it's like I can feel it expand and then retract. It's weird.
Check your wrist for a second.
Feels good, actually. Almost feels lighter.
That's good.
That's trippy.
It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
It's
body?
meditation every day.
It's meditation that does it?
Meditation every day. Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. Just like this.
For our sound recordist, it was also a shocker. He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how qi can also be used to set things on fire. He seems able to control the amplitude of this qi, like a dimmer switch, and it causes uncontrollable responses in the patients and their grounders.
I can barely keep my hand on you. It wants to fly off. The electricity is so strong.
So I invited a small group of scientists back from the United States with measuring equipment to test if DJ was for real. And if so, where might this energy belong on the electromagnetic spectrum? Catherine Cook, CEO of the Mind Science Foundation in Texas. Dr. Roger Nilsson, a Swedish medic and international racing sailor. Dr. Greg Simpson, a physicist from New York's Albert Einstein University. And Andreas Polak, one of DJ's Australian students. The visitors are confident they'll uncover him as a fraud in no time. Greg is the first guinea pig, and he's uncomfortable about showing that he can feel anything at all. Dr. Roger doesn't know what to expect. Out comes the metal detector, like the things they use in airports, to see if he has any concealed metal in his body. Then the voltmeter, to try and measure the qi. But how to get it to work? Where's the ground? What settings? DJ suggests that as his negative is his perineum and his positive is his navel chakra, perhaps that's where the electrode should be attached. He doesn't stand on his dignity. He's eager to help, but still no readings. They're getting shocks off his arm, and now they're on the right settings, but the needle still isn't moving. DJ says it isn't electricity, it's qi.
It's 1, 2, up. I feel it in my whole body. I feel it at 3, 0.3. I feel it in my legs. Shit.
But suspecting there's some tricky setup on his premises they can't find, they insist we all go to a randomly chosen hotel room several miles away to see if he can light a light bulb with his fingers. It doesn't ground on the wall. So Greg holds and grounds one wire, while DJ pumps chi through the other. The bulbs are LEDs, light-emitting diodes, which ignite in different colors according to the intensity of current.
Yes. On, off, on.
Brilliant.
Oh, you're blinking.
Things were going well.
Over 8 years, the center has successfully treated more than 180 types of illnesses, including bladder cancer.
看到了没有？就是在这个膀胱，三角球的左侧，和一个压壶，这么一个中块，发起，各位老师，咱们一块用力量发起。对。人就想了一下就彻底散了。你放手，老师在这儿。给我听一听。小了，站住！好，没了，大家画没了，好，没了，好嘞，好，二宝，能看出来，这是您这个，这个是能放下来。这个就1分钟哈，6分钟，上来，走，好，没了。
But when Western scientists see this, it makes no sense, because Western science says that our beliefs and our feelings and our emotions have no effect.
Ja. Dit is de endotoxine.
Oké.
Een hele lage hoeveelheid. Dus het laatste moment om nee te zeggen is nu, maar ik begrijp dat je door wil.
100% doorgaan.
Oké. Nou, ik ga het toedienen. Daar merk je niks van.
Let the battle begin.
Stimulatie. En daar komt hij. Je gaat niks acuuts merken, maar pas als wat merkt is het over 1,5 uur.
Maar ondertussen is het lichaam er wel al bezig, hè?
Ja, correct.
Dus ik ga ook even...
Ja, jij mediteert gewoon door.
Ik ga in de oppositie.
Het is 31 maart. Wim krijgt een injectie toegediend van een dode bacterie. Ongevaarlijk, maar toch. Een normaal mens wordt hier wel een uur of 3 ziek van.
Het zit erin. Succes.
Dankjewel, Peter.
Onze belangrijkste conclusie, dat we nu voor het eerst heel duidelijk en onomstotelijk feitelijk hebben aangetoond dat een mens dus wel in staat is om zijn autonome zenuwstelsel en zijn immuunrespons op een vrijwillige manier te beïnvloeden. En dat was echt iets wat in de tekstboeken staat, dat kan niet.
If there's one thing this tells us, is that there are deeper layers of our bodies that we can consciously explore. A potential we should study. A potential within our biology. And it's all there in front of us.
And I just felt like this vibration that I never felt in my life.
A very physical, tangible sense of energy. I'm not talking about energy in the woo-woo sense of the word. I'm talking about energy like electricity, like you stuck your tongue on a 9-volt battery. You can feel that. You can feel that.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.